Good day, Bob here at Weldnrust, and we are continuing on with the bike, the chopper, because, well, it's a chopper because we're actually chopping things off of it. That's what choppers are supposed to be. We got the plastic front fender from some bike, which is now the rear fender for this one, which we had to do quite a bit of interesting modifications, which I don't think you want to miss if you want to play with plastic. Anyways, ton of work ahead, and we're going to see what we can get done this time. We've got the fender sitting now right where I want it when the suspension is compressed. So I know it's not going to hit anything. I got plenty of room in here for the taillight that's going in here. I got a little block of wood in here just kind of holding it up where I want it. And what I don't like is these things. That sort of stamp pressed, yeah, I'm not liking that. It's also I don't like the angle that it's going on. So my next plan is I am going to cut it off here. I'm going to make some bungs and weld them on here. And they're going to be about the same size as this circle here. I'm not sure if I got to make them. Oh, I don't have a choice in the matter. I might have to make them the same thickness, same diameter as that. That'll be fine. It'll work. And just make the holes the same, so that way I got 4 mounting holes on the fender, and that should hold it. All right, guys, check out the new saw. It's a Vevor, and I looked up online, best bang for the buck from what I could tell. And I had to get this one because my old one, well, it was a friction saw and it just blew up. So I figured I'd spend the money and actually get a decent saw. And oh, I'm so glad I got this one. Yep, my only regret is not getting it sooner. So I'm kind of thankful when a tool blows up. It's an opportunity to get something better. I love this thing. Check it out. With a ruler. I was aiming for 1 1/4 inch, and it's like within like thousandths. Here you go. I gotta show you this again. Look how close those ended up being to one another. It's like, we're talking like a few thou difference in length. Yeah, measurements with a ruler, man. If you're playing with these hub motors, something you're gonna have to consider. The wheel itself wasn't centered in the swing arm, which kind of throws things out. I'll probably end up having to cut the welds and move the shock over to better center it because I can't shift the wheel over. And the reason I say that is I thought there was actually some spacers in here. There's not. This is one solid shaft. And for me to actually shorten this, I'd have to tear it apart, put the hub in my chuck, disconnect the wires somehow, and then reconnect. It's going to be a total nightmare. We're not doing that. So what I'm going to end up doing is the swing arm is going to have to shift over. I'm going to have clearance issues in here. And to rectify that, I'm going to have to do some grinding and possibly some notching. So I'm just going to have to notch and open this up to allow the swing arm so it doesn't hit this, and then bring the whole thing over. It sucks, but you know, this is part of the engineering process. Things you gotta, the compromises we're going to have to make. Hey boys and girls, let's see if we can do some microsurgery with a butcher knife. So, I got a 1-piece rod on here. Keep everything in line to make sure it is. Center this to the same. Go off my center point, and I've got 20 3/8. 20 3/8 and maybe a 32nd. I'm going to call that good enough. I could get a little pickier if I wanted to. I might. Yep, if I just take a little bit off of there. Right now the gap in here is at the most maybe 40th. And weld's going to fill it, so I'm not too worried about it. I think that just might be close enough, and that should work. So what I've done is I got a rod a little bit smaller than the holes. This holds in position with the strap clamp. There is very little tension on here. I don't want things bending. So the trick now is I know how wide I want this, which is a little bit wider than the fender. Which would be 6.5 in this case. I also want this centered with the tubes. Yeah, so all I gotta do now is start tacking her into place. Oh yeah, why don't you guys learn from my mistakes? One of the habits that I'm trying to get into now, see if I can find it, is when I fire up the welder for the first time of the day, I waste a little bit of wire. I do that. Not because I like wasting wire, but because there's no gas in the line. I don't know how many times I've done this. First shot, first tack, full of porosity. Says, oh yeah, maybe I should have let some gas go through the line first. Just thought I would mention that next time you guys run into this. Oh yeah, watch your eyes. It sounds. Do that. The only thing I don't like doing is when I gotta start welding from a thick material to a thin material. I really gotta focus most of my heat on the thick part. It's kind of fun when you're doing it blind. Okay, we put the spring in the shock, and where we've got this sitting ride height, it's actually about an inch or so higher than what ideal hydrite is what I was looking for. But you gotta remember, we got no batteries and no rider on this thing, so it's gonna sink down quite a bit when I'm sitting on it. So I think we're gonna be good with that, and I think the next step is I'm gonna have to pull the shock back apart again so I can drop it right down to its onto its bump stop so I can figure out where the fender is gonna go. Now for setting this fender, what I had to do was I had to put it as far forward as I can just before it hits the shock. It's about 1/8 of an inch away, and that's fine. The important thing here is when this frame is on the bump stop, it's as low as it can go so I know nothing's going to hit. And in this case, if I want the taillight I want to have, I might end up changing the lens, I don't know yet. But the unit itself, I'm pretty sure this is what we're going to be using. And I got clearance, not a ton. As long as I got clearance, got what, maybe 1/4 inch, and that'll be fine. So my next plan is I gotta figure out where 2 of the holes are gonna go, mark them out, and drill them. And then from there, I gotta create a pattern that matches the fender so I can do the other side, and that way they're matched. So here's a bit of engineering education. When I put the fender on, it was when this at the lowest point, figuring out where the most contact is. There is a worse contact point when the shock is fully extended and actually rubs on the fender. You can see where it's contacting here, and now the holes, they do not align. So, my next plan is where the shock was sitting. I can actually go by some of the marks that were already on here from scratching. Is I'm going to put a hole saw hole through here, and I like to keep this line for cutting. This I haven't 100% decided on yet, but I've got to get rid of this so I can get this fender to sit on here. Once you actually start cutting this, it melts back together again. Oh! Now, I can't say I've ever done this before. So yeah, if you go too slow, the plastic melts itself back together. That's so neat. All right, let's try this again. There you go, the trick. Back and forth to break the melt. And then before it starts to harden up, break it off. There we go. Rough cut. Next one. Now the fun part to remember is to which side of the line to cut on this time. It's the opposite side. Okay, now that we got the fender kind of mocked in place, yeah, that curve's a lot better. I would have loved to see that fender sit down lower. And on a rigid frame bike, you can get away with it, but when you got suspension, yeah, that's not gonna work so good. So before I get to welding, I just had a brainwave. And after I got the fender done, I need not being able to leave well enough alone. I had to figure out what I was gonna do about this divot in here. And I got thinking, well, I'm gonna cut it, plastic weld it, fill it, and I realized, hey, wait a minute here. This is plastic, and if you heat it up enough, it behaves, well, just like plastic. And hopefully I can actually get it hot enough and actually press this down to get it to better conform to the shape I want, which is in this case is flat. The only problem, it's got a memory and it doesn't want to push back up again. And if I can keep pushing it down so it cools off, I might be all right. Okay, so a few little lessons learned. One of the things I noticed I had to do is when I heated it up well, you had to get it really hot to get it melty. And when I put a block of metal or whatever it is I used, and I had to basically hold it on while it cooled, and not to be in a rush and be patient and keep applying pressure to it. Because without the pressure, it loves to pull back to its original shape. Plastic's got a memory and it wants to go back to where it was before. So it's kind of fighting that. But the nice thing is I didn't get the divot in here. And I did manage to take some heat and push this up a little bit better. So no matter what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to use some filler. But the whole trick in this case to use as little as I can get away with. And it doesn't look like I'm going to need a whole lot. So I'm happy with that.
Well, guys, that's all we got time for on this one. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you on the next one. And don't worry, we're going to have plenty more metal fabrication to go on the next ones. Anyways, take care and bye for now.